next session, which is a fire chat on AI adding the intelligent to WFM. For this, I would like to invite two speakers. First, Mr. Vikas Wahee, Head of Solutions, BPM and ITES from Flow. Vikas has extensive knowledge in automation, BI, and innovative solutions. He started his journey with a global provider company, Intellicus Technologies, in 2019, which has deployed more than 10,000 commercial installations across the globe. Vikas has been focused on customer and transition management along with process excellence for the company, which leads him toward the success of all the projects. Our second speaker, I would like to invite Mr. Swapnil Nagvekar, Global Head and Associate Vice President from 𝗘𝗱𝗶𝘁 Technologies. Swapnil brings 20 years of his experience in workforce management with expertise in all aspects of WFM. His experience in customer service operations, banking, travel, telecom, and healthcare adds a dynamic perspective to the WFM practices. May I request for a huge round of applause?
Thanks, Swapnil. Thank you,
Vikas.
everyone. I'm sure we're just going to spend some time talk about how intelligent is the AI, right, and how effective is the AI. I'm just going to start off with a very basic note, right? We all would want to go back to the start of the BPO in India, right, way back in 2000. When we started off our journey, we had one level of readiness, right? We knew there's a BPO world. It had its own glam and it had its own era. And it started off evolving from that time, right? And then we moved towards a specific stage where we would want to then look at how is it that I would want to gain a customer experience. That's the kind of journey we started off with the BPO, and that's where we got IVR introduced, right? And where we said that, okay, we would now want to go ahead and look at segregating, how is it that I would want to attend a customer for a specific type of an issue. And then, from an IVR, we moved on to now getting on to chatbots, where we looked at giving him some kind of a quick response to customers for initial set of queries that they would want to look at. And then we now have ChatGPT. So the point is that look at the kind of transformation this industry has gone through and the kind of evolving technology adoption that is happening at every stage, right? More we get into the time, artificial intelligence is definitely going to be at the forefront for us, and it's going to be the most important part. Now, here, AI from a workforce management perspective is now a game changer, right? Gone are the days when we used to go ahead and do those manual workforce planning, doing forecasting on Excel, doing cap planning, and then looking at a lot of adjustments and doing with gut feels, right? AI now focuses on streamlining the processes, working towards enhancing the productivity. And then it also looks at how is it that you would want to foster a more engaged and an efficient workforce that can actually help you improve the customer experience at the ground level, right? That is where today I think the AI ML focuses upon. Now, if you want to go ahead and achieve the most effective result on the workforce side, Swapnil, my first question to you is, what do you think artificial intelligence in workforce management actually is?
So, Vikas, good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts out here. Just to start on a lighter note, I think what is AI in WFM? I think my picture out there is surely AI in WFM. It looks pretty fresh as such, right? I don't look that fresh. So I think that is AI in WFM. But just coming back to the question, right? So we in our WFM community, we all say that WFM is an art, okay? And it's a science as well. So it's art and science together. Now, a WFM professional has to look at 10 different things at the same time, with just one goal in mind, which is customer experience, right? All that we do, all that we plan for is for that call, that interaction which comes to the site, right? It has to be the best. So that's what our goal is. So I think AI in WFM will be, how many such aspects can you bring on board at the same time, keeping in mind that the customer experience is the best, right? So you might look at 3 things today. With the introduction of AI in WFM, we might be able to expand that to 10 different things, right? And what I mean by this is the service levels, the quality, the CSAT, etc., right? So more the inputs, better the output, better the customer experience. I think that is what AI in WFM will be.
Right, I completely agree, and I think in the last session we talked about how big and large data sets that we sit on, and how effective that data set can be in order for us to do more accurate planning and get into giving the customer right set of experience, and also talk about being into a controlled environment, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that leads me to the next question. Why is it BPO would want to move towards artificial intelligence for workforce management?
Okay, so WFM as a fraternity or as a community, right, has been moving along with the time, right? Now today's world is all about AI. I mean, you can't think of a field where AI is not present, isn't it? So why would we be an exception as a community? We would want to have AI in there as well, right? But if you really ask me, the scenario is changing so frequently, so often in the industry, right? That you all want to have the best possible information on your fingertips at every point of time, right? Now the best engine that we all know is the human mind. But of course, when it comes to large scale of data processing, you need that kind of support from tools, applications to help you out, right? The game changer of these tools, or this introduction of the BPO industry moving towards AI, is just to save time on taking decisions, right? So in the yesteryears, if someone was using a notebook or an Excel sheet, and that was taking probably an hour to decide what best suits my requirement, the introduction of an AI platform might reduce that time to probably 5 minutes, right? And with workforce management, everything is about time. So the faster you react, the faster you decide, the better results is what you can have on the ops floor, right? In the same sense. Right?
I completely agree. So, somewhere I think the workforce management sits right in the center.
Yeah.
It's generally not the team that everyone would love to be with, but unfortunately or fortunately can carry the major burning part of the organization. But yeah, I was just kind of thinking about a session chat that I had outside with one of the colleagues, where he was referring that one of the problem statements that they today have in hand is that how evolving a forecasting can be, right? Today, our end consumers are becoming volatile. There are so many scenarios, challenges, areas which are coming up, which are impacting the volume. And it's really becoming difficult for a forecasting to actually bring in the kind of accuracy that you would need. One of the areas that they were concentrating upon was that, can there be a system which can actually focus upon giving a learning over a period of time, and can there be an automation which is intelligent enough to bring a combination of automation and AI, which can actually bring in better planning in place, right? And I think that's exactly where your input was. So thank you for that. Yeah.
So actually, there is never a better plan. There is always a better plan, right? So I may plan something today, and then I might realize that, I could have done better than that. So it's a very evolving industry, right? So we kind of have to move with the flow.
That's an interesting one. So we've spoken about why it is required. Now, in terms of an impact, when we talk about workforce management being leveraged by artificial intelligence, what do you think is the area where you see the major impact happening? So if you were to look at the overall workforce management life cycle, right, there are various stages where you look at the complete planning to happen. Now, what are the most critical and complex areas that you would look at, and what's the most impactful area that you would want to concentrate
Sure. So I have been with the WFM community for the past 21 years now, right? So I've seen the evolvement of tools, platforms, etc. Right? And the horizon is kind of changing with every year or so, right? Even faster than that, probably. So from a community perspective, because what happens is it's very important that the WFM users or the WFM personnel who are handling the WFM queries day in day out, they understand this handshake between AI and WFM. Okay, so it's like playing an instrument, right? I'm an artist. I have an instrument in my hand. I know what I have to do with it. But if I'm not trained the right way, the tune will not be pleasant to my ears, right? That's how WFM is. So while I understand AI, while I understand WFM, it's very important for me to know that at what extent should I be bringing in AI into the WFM practices, and to what extent should I just keep it outside, right? Because it's super confusing. Trust me, it is. We WFM professionals already handle a lot of data, a lot of logics, algorithms, all that any which ways happens, right? Now to add on to something which you are not really purview to, might just end up into a situation where you don't understand everything at the same time. So I think it's very important for the WFM professionals to understand how much of AI has to be brought in to WFM and how much is something that they should just do away with. I think that was something that even you and me spoke when we onboarded Flow on 𝐓𝐴 as a partner, right? We wanted to very clearly understand who is the partner who understands the change in the environment with time, right? And who is adaptable in such a way that if tomorrow something changes, there has to be the flexibility that, okay, we are ready to walk along with you and make that change happen, right? Being from an IT organization, we are exposed to 10 different languages, platforms, technologies that are available, right? Now to sync that with something that you have as a core expertise or in the industry, that is what we want to look at, right? And I think the perfect example of that is the what if scenario that we have in Flow. So previously, when I was a WFM executive myself, I used to probably have 10 different copy of those Excel sheets saying scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3, right? And then I get into a boardroom and explain that to the entire ops team saying, okay, if you put 10 people here, this is what will happen, 20 people here, this is what will happen. And this will turn out to be a 2-hour meeting when someone will say, okay, forget everything, let's go with scenario 3 on pure guts or numbers, right? But I think the what if scenario with Flow that brings in, right? Those number of Excel sheets have just got down to one screen. And the multi-input that we have on Flow helps us take those decisions much faster on various scenarios, right? So I think that is what the AI in WFM or the reason why WFM industry is looking at AI as a supporting partner, right? See, the intelligence will always lie here. I mean, I'm a WFM guy. I always say that the human mind is the best AI that you have. But how do you practically translate that into something is what AI helps you with.
Got that. So, thanks for bringing in Flow. I think, one of the areas that we're constantly working on is, during our implementations, how is it that our customers are actually looking at the kind of use cases that they want to solve. It's a journey that we've crossed right together.
Yeah.
What if scenario is one use case that we have. Now, coming to the scheduling part of it, right? So we've spoken about workforce management as a topic overall, but scheduling is one of the major areas that everyone would want to look at solving, right? How is it that you think that, and what are the areas that you think should be concentrated upon from a subject expert perspective? And what is it that today's WFM solution should look at from a scheduling perspective?
So I think when I started off my career, I think the entire focus was on a very contact center driven matrix, right? That this should be your AHT, this is the volume that you should be able to handle at a particular service level, right? I think the time has come where your schedule should be that flexible that if a Swapnil is scheduled on a Wednesday 7 to 4, how does Swapnil impact your CSAT score during that shift, right? And if a Swapnil is moved to a Friday 10 to 7 shift, how does it impact your CSAT score? Is the level of detailing that you would want to bring into schedules right now? And I'll tell you why, right? This is something that even we are working within 𝗘𝐴, and this initiative is called as data power transformation at our end, right? And that's what we are trying to achieve with Flow as well. the entire focus sometimes only remains upon, hey, you know what, this is the call volume pattern, this is the service level we have to achieve, and that's what we keep on gunning for, right? But what we really need to achieve is, hey, you know what, a combination of 3 people put into a particular shift. How do they impact your customer experience? Because all that you're doing is to achieve the best customer experience, right? So if a solution like Flow gives us the input saying that, hey, you know what, Swapnil, schedule these 3 people between Monday on 7 to 4 and give them a weekly off on Wednesday so that your CSAT score is X, your quality score is Y, and your NPS is probably at a certain number. That is something I can go back to the customer and the customer will say, you know what, brilliant. Because at any point of time, you are then thinking about me and not only about your own contact center, right? So AI and WFM, the future is this. The handshake should be in such a way that the traditional practices of WFM are translated into an AI language which benefits the customer for their experience. So that's how the future is and should be.
Oh, that's interesting. So, you know, what I understand from a conversation, and I'll be open to, the members here to participate for more questions and come back to us, is basically you would need an AI ML to be a handshake partner, but not really the only possible automation that you would want to look at the WFM practices to follow, right? From a workforce management perspective, when it comes to adopting a solution, what are the key areas that you think that anyone should actually concentrate upon that can help them to take the right decision? Because today, I'll tell you, from a product perspective, when we interact with customers, there are checklists which are there, but there's a checklist and then there is a wish list, right? So amalgamation of both is basically the approach that they look at. But over a period of time, when we start that journey, we realize that there are areas that you have to concentrate upon to make sure that the human intelligence is not compromised, right? So what is it that you think is going to be the most important factor that you would want to consider for any workforce management solution to be onboarded?
I think as a WFM leader, you have to think for the next 5 to 10 years for sure. I'll tell you why. Most of the cases when there is a platform that is introduced or a solution that is brought in, right, the immediate ask is how many people we are going to save by this solution, right? And as a leader, I personally think that is a very inappropriate approach, right? Because those people who are there with you have worked with you when you didn't have technology solutions, etc. For your pursuit. So losing them out is a no-no, right? What you should actually then do is look at a platform which enables you to upskill them from where they are today, right? And then continue that in the journey going forward as well. So today that platform may not have AI, may not have ML, etc. But if they have a vision to go through, I think you should onboard that platform for sure, because that's how the world is progressing at. Meanwhile, the people that you already have with you, right, they would also undergo the journey of learning the platform, getting to understand the details, and then reaching a point where you actually start getting the results or the ROI, right? So as a WFM leader, my request would be never look at reducing the number of people by replacing a platform. That will never give you the results that you're looking for. After a certain point, if you lose those people, there is no one left to run the platform. And the platform is just a software on your system, nothing else that happens, right? So you take your people along, upskill them in this journey, and then identify a partner, as we have done in the case of Flow, right, who is equally flexible to take on the challenges that are there in the industry today.
I completely agree with your point. The reason is, we've spoken about cost being a factor here, right? How is it that you would want to ensure that you're able to bring a balance between bringing in intelligence with the right cost models that you would want to go ahead with? So I think with that, yes, I understand that workforce definitely has to be contemporary, but at the same time, the conservative method that has moved into a contemporary approach should actually be taking into consideration the human intelligence as well.
Yes, of course.
Should not really be part of eliminating it.
See, just to conclude, right, I think the beauty about being a WFM professional is you understand how much risk can you take into a particular business. However, what are the various scenarios of those risks is something that a platform should help us with. So put 4 scenarios in front of me, and then basis my experience, I'll decide, okay, this is the one I want to go with. It has the minimal or the maximum risk that is on my shoulders. But that's the support exactly that we are looking forward as a WFM community to all platforms to bring in actually.
Thank you so much for that, Swapnil. I'll invite more questions in case if there are from the forum here. Probably we can answer them. Else we'll go ahead.
Unless the lunch wasn't too heavy.
Okay, so I had to kind of skip that as well. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Vikas and Swapnil, sir.